everyone, I'm Alexandra and welcome to my channel. So in today's video I thought I might share with you my Britain's Got Talent experience. It's a really long video so I thought I might quickly jump into it. But basically I also have like a list of YouTubers that I absolutely enjoy on one of the side. If you would like to be put in that list of YouTubers, because I love supporting other YouTubers, if you'd like to be put in that list and get your video shout out or your channel shout out, in the description there'll be like a note on how to do it. Sorry, my camera's about to die. There'll be a link on how to get into it and sort of how to get involved. So if you would like me to support your YouTube channel, check my description, comment down below, and I sure will go and do that for you guys. I just wanted to shout that out now. But yes, I hope you enjoy the video and let's get into it. So I officially auditioned for Britain's Got Talent at the age of 13 in Manchester around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That was my audition time, that was everything that I sorted. But I originally applied for Britain's Got Talent a year before that when I was 12, but I didn't actually turn up to my audition. So when I turned 13, that was when I decided that I was actually going to turn up to my audition because I was ready. Audition because I was ready. In my bag I did have like my backing track CD so I could practice in the car. I had my application form, my passport, everything that I needed to get in, and I was like sort of at that moment in time I was prepared to go into this audition. I was nervous but I was prepared, I can't speak. I went with my mum, my dad and my baby brother Ryan, who was 3 at the time. I keep calling him a baby but he's not a baby anymore. But anyway, I went with my baby brother Ryan and it was sort of like a family atmosphere. We did leave like half the family at home because not everyone could like turn up with us, but yes. So then when we arrived there, we sort of got queued up. I'm rushing through this section because there's a lot more like goes on later on. So we queued up in a 4 o'clock line at first, and that was when we sort of, you don't ever see people walking out, and that's really weird. You don't really see people walking out from the audition, you just see people going. So I don't know whether it was just a Manchester thing. So anyway, we queued up for about an hour and a half. I got my application, my number, and I got a room that I was supposedly being sent to, which was room J, and we had been told that this was for singers and musical people. So we were going to be put in room J, and then I went into another queue where that was all the people who had got their numbers, and we queued up for another 4 hours, 5 hours. So I didn't actually get in. It was like after 4 o'clock at this time. It was probably like 6 o'clock when we got to like the near to the front, when it was like 150 people. Right, this is where it starts getting confusing and sort of you need to sort of work out what I mean. So at about 150 people, as she gets to the doors, they were letting people in. They would get a volunteer, they would take them to the room, and then you were to be put in individual rooms. Like I said, my room was room J. They would put them in individual rooms, they would take them up to the audition, but they were only letting 20 people in to go and find their room at a time. So I can't speak. They were only letting around 20 people in to go and find their room at a time. So it was sort of going really slow, like letting 20 people in at a time. Then when it got to about 150 people left, like in the queue, it was probably 150 in front of us. There was so many more behind us. I don't even want to think about that. It was like trailing out the door. But we got to about 150 to the front, and then they just let everybody in. And that's when me, my mum, my dad was sort of like, why are they letting everyone in now? Because they could have done that like 4 hours ago when we were just standing there. But I didn't think anything of it because I had my number, I was prepared for the audition, I was more worried about going to see the judges rather than anything else. And I thought, like, I knew that I wouldn't go and see like Simon Cowell, Amanda Hunt, everyone. I don't watch Britain's Got Talent, so I don't know who the judges are. So I wasn't really worried about seeing them because I know I wouldn't. I knew I was going to see producers. So I was more worried about the audition rather than my room that I was being sent to. So when I got in, my mum was sort of like, aren't you supposed to be in room J? But then we all got sent to this one room, and it did actually have a number on it, but I can't remember the number because I don't look at these things. So we did actually all get sent into the same room, and there was magicians, there was people with dogs and everything in this same room. And that's when it sort of clicked to me, because I had originally got told that I was going to room J for musicians and singers, like I said that before. But there was so many other acts in here, and I thought, oh, they're probably just seating us in here until they find out how to get us to our rooms. Basically, when you walk in, it has like banners saying Britain's Got Talent, auditions, like tables and papers and things like that. They came in, took all the papers out, took all of the banners down, took all the musical stuff out so that it was just a plain room now. So then they all went, and my dad was like, are they going home or something? Like, why do they need to undecorate the room? And I was like, I don't know. But then I still didn't think anything of it. Then about half an hour later, they came back and they were like, numbers, so and so. And I went out with my mum finally, and I remember getting really nervous because they took us to our room, and I remember just seeing basically how it was just dressing rooms. And they were judges sitting in the dressing rooms. You could hear everything that was going on inside that dressing room. And then a long row of seats. So I just went to go and sit down in the seat that I was designated to, and it was sort of like children's singers, and it was sort of age categorised with like everything like that. Bearing in mind I said before how you can't see anyone ever come out of that audition. Everyone that came out of that room, nobody got through. And there was quite good singers as well, nobody got through. And you're all sitting in a row, like everyone's sitting in a row across. There's magicians, you've got singers, you've got dog walkers, you've got every talent, but nobody ever got through. And that's when my mum sort of said to me, why has nobody got through? Out of all these people, they could at least let one person through. And I sort of got nervous at that point where I was like, they should actually let one person through at least. I walked in, like I sort of sat there for about another hour and a half, and they came up to me, like this one girl came up to me and they were like, number so and so. They were like, how old are you? I was like 13. They were like, and I remember going to my mum, is there a problem with my age? Like, why are they looking at me funny? So then I went into the room, and I remember there was a girl and a boy. The boy was really nice, not gonna lie. The boy was just a music boy. He looked as if the woman, right, I don't mean to offend, but the woman looked as if she was in control and telling this boy not to speak, and if he speaks, he's going to get his head cut off. She reminded me of the witch from Narnia, the white witch from Narnia. Right, so she was sitting there with her paper. She was like, what's your name? I was like, Alexandra, Bethany, and my second name. And then she was like, how old are you? I was like, 13. I'm going to be singing turntables. So I started singing. I appreciate that I am not the best singer in the world, and I appreciate the fact that I can't sing. Yes, that's fine, but let me sing at least 2 verses like you said you would let me sing. I appreciate that you don't like my singing, but let me sing the 2 verses. So they hit the music, I started singing, and I started singing, I think, from the very first start of the song. Sort of midway through the first one, she stopped, like, she wasn't even listening to me anyway, but then that's when I realised that she wasn't paying attention to me, and she was just drawing on her paper. The man next to me, he was sort of like, you know, getting into the song, he was like, I was singing my turntables song, I was like, turntables, and he was sort of like, yeah, go on, go for it. And then the woman was just sat there like this. I was like, how rude do you want to be? You could be even more ruder than that. So she was just drawing on her page underneath, like, you've got like your application form, and then she must have had like a spare piece of paper to doodle on. Looked like she was drawing a flower from my view, which I had good eyesight back then. So I was sort of getting a bit mixed up about the whole thing because I got a bit nervous then when I realised she wasn't singing. I didn't mess up the song, I sung it how I wanted to sing it, and if you go and check out my previous video, turntables cover, then you'll see how like I sing it, like I sung it near enough the same as that. So I sung it and everything else like that. I realised she wasn't listening. Halfway through the chorus she was like, I am not even like partly way through the bit that I'm allowed to sing. Like you get a certain amount of time that you're allowed to sing. I wasn't even part way through the amount of time that I was allowed to sing, and she stopped me and she was like, yeah, no, goodbye. I literally turned around, and I do not cry in front of people. I do not cry in front of anybody. So I turned around, got my phone off my mum, because I remember having a little BlackBerry when back then in those days. I had a BlackBerry, and I remember getting my phone off my mum, and I was like, my mum was like, you were amazing, like you were all good. Sorry, I'm rushing, my camera's about to die. So I was rushing and everything else like that, and I was like, I just want to go home, get me out of this place. So I remember walking down the stairs and sort of facing, I remember actually, I went to my mum, can you give me a second? Like, I don't want to cry in front of my dad. I was sort of walking into the main hallway where they let everyone in, and I just burst into absolute tears. And my mum was like, is it the fact that they said no to you? I was like, no, it's not the fact that they said no to me that I was crying. It's the fact that they bloomin' just didn't even listen to me. It was the fact that she was so rude and disrespectful. The fact that she didn't even listen to my song. And the fact that she doesn't even criticise me. She just says no. Like, at least criticise me and tell me I'm bad instead of just saying no. So yeah, I walked down the stairs and then I burst into tears and I was like, give me a second to calm down. And that's when I noticed that when I walked up the stairs, you could see people were like practicing and everything. And when I walked back down the stairs, it was completely empty. Like, there was no volunteers around. There was no one wearing the Britain's Got Talent like vest top. Like, they had high vis vest top thingies on. Like, them things you wear when you're learning how to cross a road in primary school, like them things with Britain's Got Talent volunteer down the back. Nobody was wearing them anymore. There was no one around and no one was being took up anymore. So that's when I asked my mum, I was like, do you think it's finished or whatever? And when I went back in, you could see nobody had actually got through, no one. They had just like sort of finished. I walked out, there was no one there. There was like, it was sort of completely empty. And my dad was like, he told me that when I went back, he said that they were barely taking anyone up anymore and that everyone that came back down after their audition all came back down set with a no, and you could see them all tell their family that it was a no. So then I was sort of like, that's a bit weird because bearing in mind I auditioned at 4 o'clock, so at about 4 o'clock till around 9 o'clock at the evening, because it was around 9 o'clock, my hair is disgusting, right? Until about 9 o'clock in the evening, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 5 hours. That's around, well over 1,000 people auditioning. There was well over 1,000 people auditioning. So out of all of that many people, they could have let one person go through. So then my dad was just like, because I was in tears, I was streaming, I was like, there was like rivers escaping my face. So I walked into the room where my dad was, rivers streaming down my, wait no, I've already said that bit. So I see my dad, we came back out of the room and we sort of walked to the car, which the car was like a few streets down, inside a little thing. And the only good thing that came out of that day was my dad literally went inside his pockets and found £70 in his pocket. But that's like the only thing that came out of that day that was good. The only thing. I have not watched Britain's Got Talent. I have not watched any TV show. Well, I don't even watch TV anyway, but I haven't watched really any talent shows since then. The only, I'm obsessed with X Factor right now because obviously what happened. If you haven't seen that, go and check out the video. The link is in the description most probably, but I never remember to link them, so I'm sorry, but go and check out my channel if you'd like to go and check out my whole series about X Factor. But the thing is though how rude they were, and it was such a different experience to X Factor, and I shouldn't really stereotype X Factor for what Britain's Got Talent did, but I immediately thought when I auditioned for X Factor that it was going to be like Britain's Got Talent, that it was going to be that horrific. I got pleasure out of I got pure pleasure out of X Factor. I got horrific, I hate the fact that I regret ever doing Britain's Got Talent. I hated the whole thing. I will never do it again, and I've said this to so many people, anyone that wants to go and do Britain's Got Talent, do not go and do it. Go wait and do something like X Factor or The Voice. Go and do The Voice out of anything. But if you're singing, don't ever go on Britain's Got Talent because it is the worst. They treat you like rubbish. Just saying. If you want to go for it and you get through, I'm there to support you. I'll phone up on the line. Link, if you go on it and you get through, you probably won't, tell me. But if you want to tell me that you got through, the comments section right down there. And I'll phone up and support you because I know the difficult situation that you have to go through just to get there. But I am fuming about that situation. I hated ever doing it, like I said. I have so much hatred towards that situation, so much. But I have more story times for you guys. I have one about when I was in a movie. I can do that story time. I can do a story time about my worst ever experience on stage or things like that, like sort of them sort of things. Any story time. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you enjoyed. Also give the video a thumbs up and comment down below if you have any other video suggestions, if you tried out for Britain's Got Talent, your experiences with talent shows, that sort of thing. I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye!